Okay, JMeter. So I have completed 8 tools till now. And so we are going to see JMeter. And then after this, I'll tell you about Jenkins. Then we'll see Gradle next week. Okay. Okay, as I told in the beginning of the course, these are not really DevSecOps. The course, as I first day, you remember, first day for a few days, I continued like this. So this is not Devs. This is not the actual DevSecOps. These are the tools, okay, that are supporting the regular development, DevOps activities, and everything. Okay. See, for example, now when you tell security comes in many areas. Say, for example, if you take ELK, this has its own security when you integrate with the real time. So if you take SonarQube, this has its own authentication authorization mechanisms. So if you take security itself, it can be combined in the DevOps activities, or that is development activities or operational activities. So that's what. So these are the tools that are used in the development and operational activities for the DevOps part. This is not the actual DevSecOps course. When you see actual DevSecOps, that is a different actually. There you will be working on, you'll be knowing about creating the pipelines, okay, creating the, that is Kubernetes clusters, okay, integrating with security. That are actually, that are real. These are the tools that we use actually. Okay. So let us start now with JMeter. What is JMeter? Anyone has idea about JMeter? Anyone has a good idea about JMeter? Yeah. So JMeter is used for performance testing. JMeter is used for performance testing. So that means, say you developed the code, okay, and deployed that to a server, some dev server or test server, before moving to production environment. So before moving to production environment, you developed the code and deployed that to dev or test server before moving to production environment. So mainly the importance will be, mainly we need to see how well the code is performed. Actually, fine, you have tested everything functionally. You tested the code is working perfectly for the functionality perspective. Like I'm meeting all the requirements. My application is meeting all the requirements. So login is working properly. Then I'm able to go to, I'm able to retrieve the product. So let us take, you are developing an e-commerce application. So I'm able to retrieve the product data. I'm able to create an order. Okay, that order data is going to the database. All these are all fine. That is all the functionality. But the real challenge comes when you deploy this to server. In server, multiple users will be accessing your application. So when multiple users are able to access your application should provide the response quickly. Your application should be speed enough to take the request and generate the response very quickly. Okay. So application should be tested where the response of the application should be faster. Even when more number of users are accessing the application. More number of users are accessing the application. So it depends upon several factors. See, sometimes what will happen is, my code is good. Server should be able to support that much load. Server, see, for example, this is what we call performance testing. So this type of testing to check the performance of application is called performance testing. See, let me take in this one. Suppose I have a server. So in the server, I have the application deployed. In the server, I have application deployed. Now, all the requests will come to the server, and from server it will go to the application. So these are different requests. Say users will be accessing from different browsers, right? And they are located at different locations. Let's say the server is, say, for example, Amazon.com. I mean, this application is hosted in, let us take like this, Amazon.com. And Amazon.com is a website, and that is present in running in some application server. And this is the application, Amazon.com application. And imagine that thousands of users throughout the world will be accessing this application. And you know, general Amazon.com is faster. And it all depends upon the server capacity. The servers, it will not be in one server, it will be deployed in multiple servers, which we call it as horizontal scaling. Okay. And this application is deployed in different servers, and we'll have a load balancers between. So there is a server architecture. So the performance of the application all depends upon the code we develop. Depends on the code we develop. Next, the performance of the application depends on the server. Depends on the server. On the server capacity. Okay, like for handling the more number of user requests. So when you say server capacity, mainly server capacity is like the server memory, or we call it as a RAM. Okay, RAM size. Next is CPU, like number of cores. Okay, all this. So whatever might be, mainly we have to test it and generate a report. And then if the report is good, fine. If the report is not good, we have to see whether it is related to the performance of the application or the performance of the server. All that we have to debug and know. But the main important criteria, if you see for all this, is testing is most important. Testing is most important to check the results, or to check the results of how the application is performed. So mainly the response time. Okay, the response times, we have to get how much time the application has taken, like response, whether one request has taken 2 seconds for response. When I give one request, how much time it has taken. Suppose if I hit Amazon.com, how much time it has taken for me to land the page. So like that. So mainly testing is most important. Once we get these results, then we have to see whether it is actually application related part or server capacity related part and all that. So to test that, there are some tools. Okay. So to do the performance testing, there are some tools. In that, mainly we have one very good open source tool called JMeter. to do performance testing, there are some tools. In that, mainly we have one very good open source tool called JMeter. Okay, and JMeter is from Apache. It is Apache JMeter. Okay. So let us start now. JMeter. Okay. So first download the JMeter. The first step is first download JMeter. Let us go here. Go to your jmeter.apache.org. I think Apache. Or let me go here. JMeter download. So this is the page. Okay. So you can select the Windows machine and all that. So this is your zip file. Go and download this. So download this link for Windows. Okay, you can actually, in fact, this is the download. Now, can you see my screen now? I think I lost my screen. So this is the JMeter, it's a zip file. You got this download. Okay. So in order to, okay, first, you should have some application, right? To test this. For example, let me do one thing. I have one Spring Boot application. Okay. Let me take something like some bank application. Bank web application or a bank application, and this I'm just setting this to I can use 1.8 or okay. So what I'll do is I will just simply I'll generate some web application, okay, some kind of REST API. So this is my parent. And this is the this is Spring Boot Starter Web. And I'll just copy this final name. So this is bank application. Something like this. Okay, I'm testing with that. I will not write the business logic, just okay. So what I'll do is in my bank application, I'll just say this is Spring Boot application. And here I'll say Spring application dot run of app dot class, then args, and here I'll write some controller, application controller, and here I'll say @REST controller. And here I'll say get mapping. I'll just say I'll get the list of customers. I want to view the list of customers in the bank application. So for that, what I'll do, public string. Okay, I'm giving some get the customers. Ideally, this I should get from the database. Okay, logic to write to invoke database and get the data. So here what I'll do, I'll say just return. So what I'll do is since to connect to database and get the data, it will take some time, right? I'm simulating that logic here. To simulate that logic, I just put some thread dot sleep of some 20. Why I'm doing this one is, when this method gets invoked, this logic should get executed. This logic will take some time to connect to database and get the data. But currently I'm not writing that logic. To simulate this logic, that means it will take some, say, 20 milliseconds to get the data. Assume that the database call will take 20 milliseconds. Okay, to fetch the data. And that 20 milliseconds fetching, I'm simulating that using this thread.script. That means if this gets executed, that means this will wait for 20 milliseconds. That is the meaning. Okay, so this simulating so that the control will stop here. Will stop here for 20 seconds. For 20 milliseconds. Okay, 20 milliseconds. Okay. And this I have to, because thread.sleep will throw some interrupted exception. So put me try in the try catch block. Catch exception. Okay. ex.print status. And here I'll say return, say customer 1, customer 2, customer 3. Okay, like. Okay. Now, suppose if I run this application, so let me. If you see the application started in 8080, say localhost 8080/customers. Now you see I'll get customer 1, customer 2, customer 3. But it is actually taking some 20 milliseconds, and then this, assume that this data you're getting from this. Okay, this I'm accessing as an individual user. But I want to do performance testing for this application. Performance testing means I have to simulate, I have to generate more number of user requests to this application. That is what the performance testing. So, in order to perform do performance testing, we need to create or simulate more number of user requests. Hitting the application. So hitting the application. Okay, in order to do performance testing, we need to create or simulate more number of user requests hitting the application. And then need to check the response time of the application. Okay. So for that, so to create or simulate, so JMeter tool will be helpful in creating more number of user requests. See, when we deploy that in actual server or production, then definitely the real users will come and hit. But now, before we deploy to production environment, we have to create the virtual users. Those are not real users, virtual users. We'll be creating more number of virtual user requests, not the real users. Okay. And invoking the application. Okay. So JMeter is used. So JMeter tool will be helpful in creating more number of virtual requests, user requests, and invoking the application. Okay. Now, so let me now downloaded the application, right? Now let us start the application. Okay, let us start the application. So how I will start the application is, so you can go to bin folder. Okay, command. And I can say jmeter.bat. Just 1 minute. I'll have just a man water. Yeah. So go to your bin folder. And invoke jmeter.bat. See now, jmeter UI got started. See, this is the jmeter user interface. Okay. Now, if you see the first, you have to create first test plan. See, for each testing scenario, so you have to create a test plan. So once you invoke jmeter.bat, this will launch jmeter user interface. Okay. So first step is create test plan. Okay. So what is the test plan? Means test plan is the steps that are required to test the application. So test plan is the steps that are required to test the application. Okay. A test plan are the steps that are required to test the application. So what steps will be having is this will contain three components. This test plan will contain three components. One is thread group. Second one is, okay, the type of request configuration. The type of request configuration. I'll tell you what is this. And third one, the listener. So these are the three components. I'll explain each and every component. So in order to do the, let me put this as A, because anyhow this I have put as first point, right? A, B, C. So these are the three components that are required to test the application. I mean, for creating the test plan. So basically, what is a thread group? If I take a thread group, so basically, as I told you, right, JMeter will be helpful in creating more number of virtual user requests. Okay, because unless and until we deploy this application to production environment, we will not get the real users. But before that, we have to create the virtual users and test the application. So thread group is nothing but, okay, thread group creates virtual users. Okay, we can say like a single thread request is a single user. A single thread request is a single user. That means, say we are creating, say, 20 threads. That means we are creating 20 virtual users. Virtual users to access the application. So that is what we call threading. And similarly, we can also set the delay. We can also set the delay between the user requests. For example, see, I'll tell you one scenario. Say, now I have an application. I have an application. Now, say I have created a thread group, and in that thread group, say one thread is one user request. This is a virtual user, okay? So one thread is one user request. Okay, now to create another thread in the real time also, there might be at a time multiple users can come, or there might be some time interval between this. Say after creating this thread, say after say 5 milliseconds, second thread will access. Second thread is created. Second thread, which is another user request, right? Second thread. Again, after 5 milliseconds, after 5 milliseconds, say third thread. So which is another user request, will get access. Similarly, after 5 milliseconds. So like that. So we can set the time interval also. We can also set the time interval between the user request scheduling the delay between two threads. Okay. This is what thread group. The next one is the type of the request. So or we can say like this, the request configuration of type of the request configuration. The request configuration. So basically, the request can be a HTTP request, or FTP, right? Or it can be anything, or a JDBC, or a JMS request. It can be anything. So generally for testing the web applications, we will be using HTTP request, right? Because so for testing web applications, we use HTTP request. And in the request configuration, we'll be specifying the thread group, will specify the thread group invoking, okay, invoking the application URL to test for HTTP request. That means we created these 20 virtual users or 30 virtual users in the thread group, and these virtual users should invoke the web application that where we are doing the load testing. For example, this URL will specify this URL. So that will specify in the request configuration. And the third one is the listener. So this will help once the result, that means this will help in viewing the result of the test application, result of the testing process. So that means, say this thread group has created virtual users, and these virtual users, whatever we specified in the request configuration, they will be invoking the URL, and the listener will help in viewing the results of the testing process. Very simple. Our ultimate goal is creating the virtual users, accessing the application, and see how the application response is coming, and that result will be viewing in the through listener. Okay, and based on that, if the application is slow, then after that we have to take steps. Why the application is slow, whether it's a code related issues or server related issues, but at least from the performance testing tool will generate this result actually. JMeter will be helpful in getting the data metrics like this. Okay. Now, let me go to here. This I'll give the name as test plan, or I'll give some, I can give any name. Okay. So bank application. Bank application testing. Okay. I can give any name. And what I'll do is, see, I can give the name of test plan. I can click on this. Next. Okay. Give the name for the first step is, give the name of the test plan. Next, right click on test plan. Okay, right click on test plan and click on add threads, thread group. Okay, like this. I'll just take like this. I'll put in a Word document. Okay. So this one. So click on this. Okay, like this. Right click on this. Add threads like this. Okay. Just create this. Okay. So we have to create the thread group, right? So right click on this, add threads, thread group. Okay. Right click on this. And this will have some name, thread group. Create thread groups like bank application users. Okay. So create the name of the thread group as bank application users. Right click on test plan, create thread group. Next, enter the name of the thread group. Okay. Then Now, let me define now these properties. See, mainly if you see, there are three important properties: number of threads, ramp up period, loop count. So if you take the number of threads we define, so how many users I have to test, how many virtual users I can create. Say I'll create some 20. And ramp up period is whether these 20 users will access the application at a time, or say first user will access, and after 2 seconds, second user, after 2 seconds, third user, after 2 seconds, fourth user. That is what we call it as a ramp up period. Okay. So for example, if you take this, so this is what we call this field, the total number of users accessing the application. Okay. Next is this ramp up period will give, say, when I say 2 seconds means what do you mean by this? Means I can give any value, even if you do 0 seconds, 2 seconds, or 1 second. That means, say, in this 20 users, say first user access the application, access, and after 2 seconds, second user, and after 2 seconds, third user. So ramp up time defines the time interval between the first user, the second user, third user accessing the application. Suppose if a different ramp up period as 0 means all the users will access the application at a time. All the users will at a time, they will access the application. If I put ramp up period as 1 second means, say in these 20 users, first user will access, then after 1 second, another user, after 1 second, the third user, after 1 second, the fourth user, like. So that is what we call ramp up period. And what is this loop count is? See, the loop count is each user, how many times they have to access the application. Each user, how many times they need to access the application. So when I say loop count as 1 means each user will be hitting the application only 1 time. Application only 1 time. Everyone has any doubts here? Till now clear, everyone? Till now clear, everyone? Any questions? Any questions till now? Because I'll continue this in the tomorrow's class. Till now, any questions? Everyone clear or not? These concepts, whatever I tell you. Okay. Okay, so what I'll do is tomorrow I'll continue this. Tomorrow JMeter will be completed. Okay. So tomorrow I will explain this. See if I cover these three and how to test it. So how to see the result. So tomorrow I'll cover this JMeter. So tomorrow I'll complete JMeter. Okay. So see, as I told you, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, these 3 days. So yesterday somehow because of heavy rains in this area, I mean the complete areas. So there was some network disturbance. So yesterday I was not able to take the class. So there was some internet issue from my end actually. Okay, so tomorrow we'll have the class. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So don't miss the classes, okay? Because you will not have access to the recorded videos also. So don't miss the classes. Okay, so if I miss the class, that is fine, not an issue. But if you miss the class, you'll miss the topic actually. So fine. So tomorrow we'll continue this. So creating the thread group, request confirmation, listener, and then I'll run the test. All right then. Thank you all. See you tomorrow.